update. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to contact my son after he was the one who abandoned me? Original post. I, 45 female, have a son from my previous marriage. I got pregnant way too young at the age of 20 for my high school sweetheart David, 45 male. We then got married at the age of 22 after we graduated college. David was rich. He didn't want me to work, so I was just a housewife. My son was the apple of my eye. I gave everything to him and he was my world. He and I were really close, and I never had a doubt in my mind that I would not be alone in this world as long as I have him. That is, until 10 years ago when I found out that my husband was cheating on me with a young colleague of his. And what is worse, my 15-year-old son knew about it and hid the affair from me. Imagine how broken I was, betrayed by two people I care most in this world. I asked him why he did that, why he hurt me, and his response was that his dad told him not to. He bought him gifts to keep his mouth shut, and having a young stepmom made him popular amongst kids. I was totally blindsided when I learned my husband took my little boy to meet that woman. They made excuses that they went on a ski trip, and they took his mistress with them. I felt like a fool at that time. Then, in the divorce ruling, my son chose my ex over me. I was heartbroken. My son didn't even want to visit me after it was all done. I even tried to reach out to him once he turned 18, but he just refused. At that point, I gave up and went on with my life. I would still get sad over the years wondering how he was doing, but I did move on. Met someone who is a single father of 2 girls, married him, and a few days later after our wedding got pregnant again. The pregnancy was a nightmare. I wanted to meet my son and tell him he is going to be a brother to a baby girl. The labor was painful. I almost died on the spot after giving birth to my daughter. I still wanted to meet my son, but I knew he did not want to see me, so I just gave up the idea. But over the years, the memories of him just became vague as I immersed myself into my new family. Then a week ago, I got a series of messages from him on my Facebook, saying that he missed me a lot and wants to meet up with me. It took me by surprise. Over the last 10 years, he has not contacted me. Now he wants to see me? Why? And I have been going over every possible reason. The worst part is that I do not feel excited about it. As a mother, I know I should be over the moon, but I'm not. My parents and husband know that, and they have been pushing me to meet him. They say I need closure. After all, he is my son. But I don't know if I want to relive the same trauma. So, am I wrong? Now for the top advice before reading the updates. You are not wrong for being hesitant. Opening yourself up to the possibility of being betrayed again has to be scary. You seem to be in a good place in your life now. Only you can decide the best course forward. The people who love you are pushing you for this reunion because they likely think that a mother having their child in their life is always the best course. However, sometimes, regardless of blood relation, certain people are not good for you. It will be hard for others to understand because they didn't experience your heartbreak. There is no right or wrong decision. Do what is best for your mental health. You could even decide to pause on a decision and tell him you need more time. I'm saddened that you experienced this level of pain. I wish you well. I am inclining more towards not going, but I have yet to make a final decision. You could tell him you will reach out when you feel ready. That readiness may never come, but you need to put yourself first. The children you have now need to be the priority, and their mother to be in a good mental state. I want to give a different perspective here, as I was once in your son's position. My mother had no boundaries, and I was her best friend as a child. As such, I knew about her affair and kept it a secret from my father at her behest. This was, of course, devastating for my father when it came to light. These are complicated adult situations being foisted upon developing brains, and it can only lead to a warped sense of reality, confusion, guilt, shame, anger, and resentment all around. I was totally enmeshed with my mother growing up, and hated my dad when he tried to be the voice of reason. And only in adulthood could I look back and see how messed up the whole thing was, and start to repair some relationships. I don't know the exact dynamic with your family, but it could be similar and he may deserve a chance at a healthy relationship with you, now that he has a fully developed adult brain, and possibly sees things differently. Did the relationship between your dad and you went back to the way it was? Is your dad divorced and have a new family like I did? My parents ended up staying together, which I actually think was a mistake, but not my business anymore. We all have a decent relationship now, but I keep a healthy distance from both of them. Boundaries are the key. Nah, I have a feeling he's only coming around now because he needs cash or something. Be wary. I wouldn't be surprised if he love bombs you to build a bond, then starts requesting things or telling you about his problems, so you'll feel obliged to solve them for him. This was my thought too. I'm curious how he reached out. Was he sorry? Remorseful? Or was it just to reconnect? I get that he was a kid, but he was also at an age where he has an understanding of what was going on and what he chose to do. If there was no remorse in that note, for sure he needs something. Edit. Wow, I never thought it would get this amount of response. But thanks. I will give an official update on this. But now I'm in conflict. If I do meet him, I won't call him to my house. Maybe a public place. I am not sure if he wants something, but I will be cautious of that. Edit 2. Thank you guys for all the support. I decided to meet him today, but I am taking my husband with me. He will not be with us, but he will watch us from a distance. For those of you who called me a neglectful mother who never reached out to him, well, I hope you never have to experience what it's like to be rejected and lied to by your own boy. I know a lot of you will justify it by saying he was only 15, but a betrayal is still a betrayal. But yeah, I will be keeping my distance. Now for the full update. A lot of you have been requesting me for an update. So I finally met my son after so many years. He was not a boy anymore, he was a man. He looked taller than I remember. I read your comments. Some of you gave me some good suggestions, and I prepared myself for any possible outcome. He could be there to meet me and tell me about his life, or maybe reconcile, or maybe he wants something. Regardless of what it is, I am keeping my guards up. I asked him to meet me in a public park. I asked my husband to be somewhere near so he could see me. My son came 5 minutes after I arrived. He was all grown up. I won't lie, I wanted to cry at that spot but held my composure. He said hi to me and I smiled. I commented that he has grown up and looks really nice. He just nodded and we sat down and it was silent. I was expecting him to say something at first, but I finally asked what he was up to these days. He told me he is doing fine. He just finished college and is going to apply for grad school. I said that is great. Then it was an awkward silence again. He broke the silence and said, "You must be wondering why I contacted you." And I replied, "For 10 years you haven't tried to contact me. Why now?" I cannot help but wonder why you are trying to contact me when you told me years ago you don't want me near you because I embarrass you. His face got serious, and he said, "I know that, but I need something from you." A lot of you suggested he must be here to ask for money. Well, you guys were right. He asked me for money, and the amount was 20K. He said he needed the money because he wants to go to law school, and his father can't afford it because he lost a lot of his money a few years ago due to a loss on his business, and his company was bankrupt. He also had 3 more kids with his mistress turned wife. That's why they do not have money for him to go to grad school. It just sank my heart. After 10 years, I was finally meeting him. I was hoping that we could reconcile and he would understand what I have been through, or maybe my husband was lying to him. But no, he just wants money from me. I told him I cannot give him money, not such a huge amount, and he got defensive and kept saying why not. And then he asked, "Is this about Dad's affair? Geez, when will you get over it?" I asked him, "Why do you hate me? What have I done to deserve your hatred? Have I ever raised my voice? Have I ever hit you or said no to you? Then why? You always pushed me away when I tried to get closer to you. Why? And what did I do to deserve it?" He took a deep breath and said, "You don't understand, Mom. You really expected me to come with you? You had nothing. At least my dad could afford the lifestyle I wanted, and my friends actually like Carla, his stepmom. Everything was fine until you discovered this affair and my deal with Dad. I get it you didn't hit me or scold me, but you were not able to afford the life I wanted." I asked him if he really thinks his father's affair was actually the best way for any of us. I sacrificed a lot for him. He had to choose someone who he only met when he was 14. He said he doesn't want to talk about that because it was so many years ago, and I should just drop it. I asked him why didn't he ever try to visit me. I even asked if it was his dad who tried to stop him or any other reason. Or is it something I did? I tried to reach out to him multiple times, but he never answered or tried to be there. I gave him space because I thought he was coping with the divorce too. He yelled at me that I was really annoying. His dad didn't stop him. It was he who didn't want to meet me because I lived in a small apartment with only 2 bedrooms. He hated living in a place like that. And he ignored me on his 18th birthday because the gift I had for him was pretty cheap and stale compared to what his dad and other people gave him. I agree. My gift was a box of his favorite cookies and an old vintage watch. I was struggling a lot at that time, so I couldn't afford to buy him expensive stuff. But does that mean he should have ignored me like that? I had enough of it. I told him strictly that I will not be giving him money. I have spent years wondering where he is and how he is doing. And now he is still very disrespectful towards me. Throughout our whole conversation, he didn't even ask how I was. He just went straight to money. I was here hoping that we could move on. He had no idea how much of a mess I was when I learned the man I loved so much would betray me, and then my own son would lie to me for him. I thought we had a special bond. My head has been going through a lot of conclusions. Maybe his dad was lying to him about me. Maybe he was mad about something I did. But now I have the picture, and I do not want to be his ATM. I wanted to be his mother even when he rejected me, but now I'm tired of feeling rejected and getting mistreated and taken for granted. He kept saying and getting even more defensive that I cannot do this to him, that I am ruining his life. I told him no, I cannot trust him to give so much money. He told me to cut the BS because he knew I have money now that I can easily give him some. I told him no again and again. He at one point stood up and blamed me and screaming that I am ruining his life, that I owe it to him. I just called my husband and he rushed towards me to keep my son away from me. I know now I should have trusted my instincts. I cried a lot when I came home. I lost him forever. I know a lot of you will call me a bad mother, will call me a narcissist, but I am sorry. I have spent a lot of time in therapy to get over the pain of losing my husband and son. I cannot have him in my life only to be used as an ATM. Even if I give him the money, there is no guarantee that after getting the money, he will not ghost me or push me away. And then when the money runs out, he will come to me again to ask for more. I cannot go through that same pain again. I may be able to forgive him for what he said to me, but I don't think I will ever forget what he said. He hated me because I had no money. I would have been fine with weekly visits from him, but he never even wanted that. Additionally, I discovered during our conversation that he was the first one to find out that my husband was having an affair, and he blackmailed his dad to buy him a new phone in exchange for not telling me. I lost. That's all I have as an update. I am sorry if there were any mistakes. It is hard to write and form sentences and put all of it in a few words. And no, his birthday was not the only time I reached out like many of you assumed. I tried to reach out to him before that, many times. He said he didn't want to or had other excuses. I respected his decision and didn't bother him much. I finally gave up trying when he was 18, but I still checked his social media for quite a while until I gave that up too. Edit, thank you so much for all the support. I am by no means a perfect mom, but I tried my best. Also, as much as I'm hurt by his actions that day, I still hope he learns some adult responsibilities and becomes a more mature person. With that being said, I hardly think I have energy to reconsider reconciliation in future, even if he comes and says sorry. It was already too much for me to be there yesterday just to be humiliated again. Wow, my mouth was actually open reading your post. Unbelievable that he had the nerve to say and mean it. That he didn't want to see you because you didn't have money? He actually expected that you would just give it because he believes you have it now? He wasn't even gracious or humble, and such an entitled attitude. How are you ruining his life? Dad who gave him everything is it now? You did nothing wrong, and this is not your fault. It doesn't matter whether you have the money or not the point. You were absolutely right to not give him a dime. You see now what this young man is made of, and it isn't pretty. I do think you are exactly right. He had no interest in you as his mother, and would have dropped you again. I'm telling you, I did not expect this, and his attitude and the way he talked to you is quite shocking. He showed no interest in his half-siblings, or anything about your life. I don't see anything you could have done differently. You took the risk to see what he wanted, and it is a damn shame he has turned out the way he has. I'm glad you have your husband and your family, and unfortunately now close the book on this part. Lean on your hubby and move forward with your life. And know you did all you can do and now you know. All the best to you. You are not a bad mother, and you have nothing to be sorry about. It was not that he was asking me for money after so many years, but it is just I don't know if he will use that money for something bad like drugs or gambling. Also, I have no way to confirm if he is telling the truth about grad school or not, so it seems too risky to give such a huge sum just like that. Your son made his bed, and now he has to lie in it. He sounds like he made some mistakes in his life. Now karma is starting to bite him in the butt. If he is upset, his stepmom or your ex can bail him out. Block him and move on. You deserve better. I don't get his thought process. "Hey mom, I need $20,000. What's that? Why did I choose that over you? His girlfriend had money, and you were too poor for me. Why didn't I contact you for 10 years? Get over yourself, mom. You're so freaking annoying. Now give me money." Like, at least try to act like a normal human being and pretend to be nice. What did he actually expect after telling her that? I'm not a doctor, but it sounds like a sociopath. Yeah, he knew mommy had money now, so suddenly she was good enough for 5 minutes of his attention. What a rancid piece of trash. Your son is deranged. And heartless. He's cold, callous, egotistical, entitled, seems to be devoid of empathy, and feels no remorse. Opie, your son sounds like a sociopath. Stay away from him. Sounds like he'll make a good lawyer. Just needs to work on his approach. Am I the a-hole for not keeping my ex-wife's stuff for over 2 years while she figured it out? Original post. So me and my ex-wife were married for a little over a year when she came home from a girls' trip and decided she didn't want to be married anymore. Wouldn't really give me a reason for this, didn't want to discuss it unless it was with a therapist, which I didn't want to do unless she told me first because I didn't want to be blindsided by something with a stranger present. Long story short, I could have been a better husband, she could have been a better wife. But we separated, divorced, and that was fall of 21. Fast forward to now, we've had very minimal contact, for taxes or mail, stuff like that, but have been very civil with each other. So this past summer, I hadn't heard from her for months, and wanted to clean out my garage. Some totes of clothes and decorations that I'll never use. So, a weight went to the trash or donated. Now, when we first separated, I gave her plenty of time and opportunity to remove her items from the house. Anything that wasn't blanketly mine, like my PC or guns or stuff like that. I honestly just wanted her out of my life, so I told her to take whatever she wanted. Even leaving the locks unchanged for a whole year after divorcing, because up till then her name was still on the deed to the home. I guess she moved away after the divorce to another state? I'm unsure, as I just didn't ask, I didn't care. So recently she texts me and said she would be in town and asked if she could come get her stuff and remove some of the household items, as well as like a gas grill and a table. Items we got when we were together and have been left with me and used by me for the past 2 years and the items that I've gotten rid of. So am I the a-hole for just telling her no? I don't want to be mean about it, but it's been 2 years since we divorced. How long was I supposed to hang on to this stuff? She never asked me to hang on to it for her. Plus the common house items that I've been using. Am I just supposed to let her have those and buy new stuff? I'm very confused about what she expected after 2 years of being divorced. Edit. There was a previously discussed time for her to get her stuff. I'm going through text messages trying to figure out what to tell her. It was last Christmas, and she never showed up because she said she got caught up with family and had to fly to New York for the New Year's party. That was also the last time we spoke till now. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not a-hole, she is. Nope, she had 2 years to get her stuff. If you had kept everything, I would have told her there was a storage charge. Tell her since she did not contact you earlier, you assumed she had moved and left everything behind. Solid no to her getting anything at this point. Property abandoned at your home is kept for you to decide on. Statute of limitations for stuff from an ex is like 2 months at best. 2 years is just unreasonable. Yep, this. My ex only had 21 days in our estate to get his stuff. I was nice and kept it for 6 months, and then donated it all. Except the Xbox, I kept that. Not the a-hole. She most likely cheated on that girl's trip. Awfully coincidental how after an entire year suddenly she wants to end a marriage, directly after coming home from a trip with the girls. As for the stuff, you're not her personal U-Haul. Sounds like you dodged a bullet, Opie. She most likely cheated on that girl's trip. Glad I'm not the only one thinking this. How long was she going to wait before realizing she wanted the stuff Opie was holding on to? Most people have a rule, if I haven't used it in a year, I don't need it. And now she wants a gas grill and a damn table? Is OP supposed to eat on his damn knees? Hell no. She can buy that stuff herself, like she thinks OP should. Not the a-hole. She probably just broke up with the next guy and needs to furnish a new place. That's exactly what I was thinking. Why does she need his stuff now of all times? 90% likely to be furnishing a new apartment or house. Either that, or 10% likely she needs to bring something to the table in her new live-in situation, even if that is a table. Now for the mini update. I told her stuff was gone several months ago, since she didn't contact me to get it after so much time had passed. I do have one item that I'll return to her because it was her family's, and I didn't know it was left here. No response thus far. Legally, I'm fine. I talked to my attorney. Morally, I feel bad, but it is what it is. I truly figured she'd moved on, so she didn't want the stuff. Speculation about the divorce. I don't know why she left, and I don't care at this point. Chalked it up to things don't always work out. Why didn't I go to therapy? No, I didn't mistreat her. I just wanted to know if I needed to get checked for an STI. She had already made her mind up about the divorce. I didn't see a need to talk about it and hear about all the ways I've failed as a husband. I felt bad enough at the time, and it wasn't going to change her mind in leaving, so I do it. Next story. I left my husband. He tried to end himself, but the attempt made me laugh, and everyone's calling me an a-hole for it. Am I? The relationship has been consistently bad. I really tried to make things work. He didn't, and it was bad. It got to the point it was so bad it's hard to even explain to you guys. Not just cheating, but obsessive and possessive behavior to me and the women he was cheating on me with. To the point he had been served 3 restraining orders. I felt trapped. He'd destroy my purse, throw my keys into a nearby pond. He would destroy my phone when I'd try to leave. I'd walk miles to get away from him to my parents' house in a dark country road, and he'd barrel down in his car trying to hit me to protect me. Because there are coyotes and bobcats and dangerous people out there, and told me and the police that he was trying to hit me to immobilize me, so I'd have to get into the car and be safe. Yeah, it was bad. Well, at one point, I had finally planned and started executing my escape. I had my things packed and moved. I coordinated a place to stay. I had to do it all fast while he was at work. But he knew and showed up. Later found out he had secret cameras all over the house to monitor me. He fought me, physically, emotionally, everything. But it didn't work. I was already leaving. That's when he came out with one last big attempt. He blocked the truck my friend was driving. He stood in front of it screaming, crying that he was going to puke. We both yelled at him to move. He said if I don't turn around right now, he's going to end himself. We both tensed. I honestly don't know what he's capable of, what weapon he's got, if he's going to hurt himself or us. We know inside the house he's got a gun. He's always messing with it and hiding it, and I currently didn't know where it was. So I'm beginning to panic and trying to discreetly reach my phone to call for police. That's when it happens. He lifts something to his wrist and says, "I'll do it. I'll slit my freaking wrist right here." In his hand, he's holding his electric razor. The kind with the round flexible trimmers at the top. I couldn't help it. I don't know if it was the adrenaline, but the sudden change up from rushing to leave and trying to get out, and then legit thinking someone was about to die, to suddenly seeing someone threaten to take their life with such a comical items, I busted out laughing. Yes, I understand that's insensitive if someone was really going to hurt themselves. Honestly, I don't think he ever was going to. It was a manipulation tactic. And if he was, he wouldn't have picked that. But it just came out. He got mad at us laughing. He just sulked away and we drove off. I honestly thought I was going to faint after that. Like the tension of all that to finally feeling safe. It was like my body excited to give out right then. Okay, so all that happened. We get to my new place, my friends come to help me unpack and get settled. I had told my friends what happened and how I laughed, and it was only then that he finally let us leave. They had some idea of how bad the relationship had gotten, but they're really upset at me now. They can't believe I would treat anyone going through that kind of mental state that way. They agree it's a dumb thing he did, but they think laughing at it was the worst thing I could do. They think if anyone threatened to do that in front of them, they'd be horrified, regardless of what item they picked up. It's hard for them to understand a roller coaster of reaction, the extreme terror and fear. It's not like I was being cold, it was a reaction in the moment. Now I feel like I've left that bad situation, and my reaction is now making my friends think I'm just as bad as him. I'm worrying I'm just as bad as him. I feel like I'm making excuses about it because of the situation, but the truth is that I'm not a good person. Am I the a-hole? If someone says they'll kill themselves if you leave them, that's your cue to run. Laughing was the best reaction. It let him know that you weren't going to let him manipulate you anymore. Not a-hole OP. Glad you finally got out of there. Make sure you have security cameras in your new place. This, not the a-hole. If someone had treated me like that, threatened to end themselves with something that couldn't actually do it, I'd laugh too. Not the a-hole. Your involuntary reaction was your body letting go of the fight or flight response, aka relief. Coupled with the ridiculous weapon he was waving around, I would have laughed too. He got mad because rather than kiss his butt, you laughed at him. Manipulators really hate it when they are called out or laughed at. He definitely has some mental issues going on. Yep, the laughing is what finally showed him she couldn't be manipulated anymore. As long as OP was arguing/trying to compromise, he felt he had power. When she literally laughed at him, he knew it was gone. He wasn't sad she didn't care about his self-harm attempt. He's sad she's not in his clutches anymore. Not the a-hole OP. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take my ex-girlfriend's 2 other children with me for Christmas? I, 40 male, have a daughter, Claire, 14 female, with my ex, Amy, 39 female. Amy and I broke up when Claire was born because she felt like we settled down too soon and felt shackled by our relationship and family. We have always shared 50-50 custody since. I got married to my now wife, Jane, 35 female, about 5 years ago. Amy went on to have 2 other kids with 2 different men who aren't involved with the kids, so she has full custody of her 2 other kids, then 50% of Claire. Her 2 youngest sons are 2 and 4. Claire doesn't love her living situation with her mom. The place is crowded, and her 2 younger brothers are just, well, toddlers. She says they don't leave her alone, and she gets no time alone there. So she prefers to stay with me more often now. She also gets along really well with my now wife and wants to spend a lot of time with her. Claire asked me if she could spend Christmas Eve and Christmas Day with me and Jane. Our regular schedule is that Claire spends Christmas Eve with one of us and Christmas Day with the other. Then we switch it around the next year. I told Claire that I can't give her an answer to that without discussing it with her mom. She asked her mom before I could discuss it with her, and Amy called to tell me it's okay, and that Claire can spend both days with me because she has her hands full anyway, and it would take some work off her plate. I'm excited to have both days with Claire, and so is Jane. Jane actually suggested we go somewhere since we have both days to spend with Claire. So we planned a trip to a beach resort in another city. I called Amy to let her know and she said it's fine, but she called me back 2 days later asking if there's any chance I can cancel the beach trip and do something in our city, and also include her son so that she can go and see her family this Christmas. She said her sons don't have passports, so she can't take them to another country with her to visit her family. But this is the only time she has to visit her family because she always has to work. I said I barely know her kids, so it's going to be strange to just take them in and take care of them for however many days she's gone. I want to just relax with my wife and Claire, and taking care of 2 toddlers that I don't even personally know is not my idea of a good Christmas. That's so much pressure, and I haven't taken care of a toddler in about a decade. I also already told Claire about the beach trip, and she was so excited, so simply staying home isn't an option if it's not an emergency. I don't imagine she'll be too happy to have her brothers come along when she complains about being at her mom's house because of them either. I told Amy the reasons above, except that Claire doesn't like being around her brothers, and she said I'm doing this to punish her for leaving me, and that I could easily take care of her sons, but I'm being spiteful. I told her to stop being ridiculous. We broke up 14 years ago, and I've found a love of my life after that. There's no reason on earth for me to be spiteful. I said I really am sorry to decline her request, but I'd rather just be with my immediate family this Christmas. She said she didn't think I was the type to alienate children out of spite, and she's disappointed in the man I've become. This is the first time since our breakup that we had an argument or anything even close to it. She usually isn't like this, so while I think it's unreasonable of her to expect me to take care of her 2 sons while she's gone, I'm kind of worried I damaged our co-parenting relationship. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Don't cave in. Claire is your only child. Your ex's sons, poor toddlers, they really deserve better. Or not. Amy and I broke up when Claire was born because she felt we settled down too soon and felt shackled by our relationship and family. Basically, she dumped you because she wanted to have fun with other men and proceeded to have 2 children with 2 different baby daddies who unsurprisingly left her. And now after realizing how badly she messed up by dumping you, she wants to use you to make her life easier and have fun again. What a hypocrite of a woman. She made her bed, and now she should lay in it. Seeing her history, I'd also be concerned that she wouldn't return, at least for a while. I thought the same thing, that she would either be gone for way longer than agreed upon or she wouldn't return at all, especially if she plans on going out of their country. Not the a-hole OP and don't back down. Stand your ground. Not the a-hole. It sounds like Claire might move in with you full-time. I bet Claire would love to. I wonder how many diapers Claire has had to change. OP isn't alienating Claire from her mother. Her mother's behavior is alienating Claire. No wonder she wants to spend more time with OP. Last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my stepdaughter to ask her biological dad for help with her pregnancy bills? My stepdaughter, Claire, 24 female, had her wedding last year. We have had a strained relationship since she never took me dating her mother. However, I've always supported her in whatever way I could and considered her as my own daughter. I paid for everything throughout her life, including meeting all of the wedding expenses solo. She never valued that though. Her biological father has been absent for most of her life since she was a newborn, and yet she wanted him to walk her down the aisle. When my son asked her why she doesn't want me, she said, "I want to have my real father, and not someone who's not even related to me. At least mine never used to be like a bulldog." This was in reference to an illness I had, after which I suddenly gained a lot of weight, although I was normal after that. I was shocked, but did not argue, and I also did not decline to meet her expenses as I'd agreed to it. I attended a wedding and everything was fine after that. Until a few months later, when her husband died in a car crash and she was pregnant. She required help with money and turned to me for help. I refused and said, "Ask your biological dad for this. I'm just a bulldog. What can I do?" She got mad and said I'm holding that over her. But I said nothing and asked her to leave my house. My wife's mad at me for that and saying that I should be considerate. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She didn't make a simple mistake. She directly insulted you and said you're not even related to her. Why would someone unrelated go out of his way to help her? She doesn't get to complain that you're holding anything she did over her when she's never even tried to apologize for it. Tell your wife that if you're shown consideration, you'll give consideration, but you're not going to be abused and pay for the privilege. She thought she could be rude to and insult OP forever and keep using him as an ATM. She was wrong. We're not talking about a 5-year-old whose parents have split and they're struggling with all their emotions. We're talking about a grown adult who was happy to take your money, whose bio dad has never been around, and who thinks they can treat you like a punching bag ATM combo. I'm sorry for her that her husband passed away, but that is neither your fault nor responsibility, especially given the way she has treated you. With the info provided, not the a-hole. People should get life insurance and do some estate planning when expecting a baby. Especially at his age, the premium would have been very small relative to the payout. Good grief. Not the a-hole. This is why you treat people with respect in the good times. Aside from the fact that it's the nice thing to do, you might need their help when things are bad.